Welcome to Fantasy Football Court. We are four regular guys talking all things fantasy football. Unlike some other shows, we only talk about fantasy football. We make our arguments, we present our cases, and you are the judge. We are all in the same fantasy football league. The people are real, the league is real, and the trash talking is real. Court is now in session.
Okay.
All right, welcome again to Fantasy Football Court. We hope you enjoy today's show. My name is Charles.
My name's Andrew.
My name is Nick.
And this is Jeremy.
Today we're going to put the Buffalo Bills on the stand. They'll be cross-examined and they can be questioned at every position. When we think about the Buffalo Bills, what kind of comes to your mind? I mean, as a general overall thought. Andy, what do you think about the Buffalo Bills?
A lot of high thoughts on them right off the get-go. There's nothing overly impressive.
Nick?
LaShawn McCoy.
Right. LaShawn McCoy is the only thing that you think of with Bills.
Yeah. The Buffalo Bills is not a team that has really produced many fantasy football points at any position that's really been consistent. We'll just jump right into it. We'll start out with the quarterback, and I'm thinking, is Tyrod Taylor? Is he going to
Tyrod Taylor.
Is he going to be the starting quarterback? Is that a for sure thing, or is that
I
just
don't
who's
see
leading
anybody
right
else.
now? Yeah. All right, Nick. We'll go ahead and start with you. Do you have any thoughts on
I
Tyrod
have
Taylor?
Tyrod Taylor as my 19th quarterback. His legs just bring another dimension to the game and just gives him a little bit more extra juice than other quarterbacks that for fantasy points because you get the extra rushing yards. But besides that, I have a 19th ranked quarterback. I mean, he's middle of the road, quarterback 2 probably, and that's all I got for him.
I've got him as a game manager, and he's a low quarterback too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Last year, he averaged less than 30 passes a game and threw for 200 or fewer yards in 8 games last year. So that's just not somebody that I really want to turn to at any point of the season.
Do you have the stats from last year? Can you pull that up?
I do. I've got it right here.
Yeah. This stat kind of surprised me. They had him as the 7th ranked quarterback overall.
8.
I mean, I'm surprised.
17 TDs.
3,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
How many touchdowns?
And
17.
580 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns
Yeah.
running the ball.
So listen to this. He was sacked 42 times.
That offense.
He's a quarterback that bails out of the
Now,
pocket.
I would say, though, here's what I bet. I bet in those rankings there, in our league, your quarterback loses points for getting sacked.
That's right.
So you make sure you know the rules in your league, because some leagues
every league is different.
do have that, and if you do lose points for getting quarterback sacked, then I think he's going to backtrack in value because of the high number of sacks.
I believe it takes away from your rushing yardage too, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
Negative
Takes away
rushing
from it.
yards. So
But he seems to be their, and I think from what I remember in the past with Tyrod Taylor, he'd have these ESPN highlight films of these amazing throws or great runs, but then they don't show you all the sacks or the missed throws. He has potential. Does he not have potential?
Yeah, he's
to be?
bang or bust. I mean, he's another
Yeah.
one like we talked with some of the receivers. He's hit or miss. You can have a great game out of him, or you can have nothing.
I just think there's more reliable quarterbacks that can be drafted around the same place as him that would provide better protection and better safety.
And more consistency.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on Tyrod Taylor. Is he somebody that you would take a late round? We talked earlier about some other guys on some other shows that we talked about. We wouldn't want them to be our number 1 quarterback, but let's say it's, round 16, 17, Tyrod Taylor still hanging around. You take a shot on him?
I think I would. 16, 17.
Week 3, if he's looking good, I may pick him up off waivers, but that's about it.
You draft him?
I probably do late.
Yeah, I probably won't.
Middle late. I mean,
I have him 19, so middle of the road quarterback too, and that's pretty good for 16.
That's his
17.
ADP is actually the 19th quarterback. All right, we'll move on to the running backs now, and we've already said the name. You've heard it when we first started the show. It was LaShawn McCoy, and he finished last year as the number 3 running back in the league, which kind of surprised me. Jeremy, you got any thoughts on LaShawn McCoy?
Here's what helped last year with him. Weeks 14, 15, and 16. That should be your playoff weeks in fantasy football. Those 3 weeks, he had 422 yards rushing, 4 TDs, and 14 catches. So if you had him late in the year last year, you were really excited for having him. The other thing I like about this year that I point more toward this year, last year he had Mike Gillisley that was taking some goal line touches, some other things away from him. Mike Gillisley had 9 touchdowns last year that will
Wow.
get added back into the kitty for somebody to take.
Buffalo,
Do
yeah.
I think that LaShawn McCoy gets all 9 of those touchdowns? Absolutely not. Do I think he may get 4 or 5 more than he had last year? Yes. I'm really high. I know Nick's going to say Jonathan Williams. I understand Jonathan Williams on that, but I just don't think that he's going to hurt him at all. I've got LaShawn McCoy as my 4th running back.
Yeah, that's where he's going
out
in the
there.
ADP. Nick, got any thoughts on
I
that?
have him as a number 5 running back, and I'm not as overly high. I mean, on him as Jeremy is, but I think as far as Mike Gillisley, I think Jonathan Williams might just step right into that role. And he's getting older. You know, his biggest thing is his speed. I'm just wondering if he loses a step.
You know, there's just certain players I think we all have that no matter what the stats say, no matter what the projections are, you just don't like them. And I'm willing to admit, I'm not a LaShawn McCoy fan.
I'm not either.
I
I just
can't seem to
can't
draft
deny
him.
numbers.
If he's available, I mean, let's say I'm the 7th, 8th pick. You know, the receivers are gone. Some excellent running backs are gone. LaShawn McCoy sitting there. I don't think I can draft him. I just don't like
have
you,
to look
LaShawn.
at him at picks 6 through 8.
I just don't like him. I just don't like him.
I don't. After my top 4 running backs, Zeke Elliott, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, and then Melvin Gordon, all of them, I think I have them. I could go in the top 6.
Well,
After that, I don't think there's a running back I like him for.
I'm hoping pick 5, 6, and give me 7. I'll take McCoy at 7 and circle around on the serpentine side and get another good player again at that point.
You got any comments on McCoy?
Yeah, I'm probably not taking him in the first round either. But one of the things about him that scares me is just the Buffalo Bills itself, their offense.
Yeah.
And they really don't have anybody. I mean, they got Sammy Watkins at wide receiver, and there's just some issues there. And with how many sacks that they gave up last year, I just don't know that he's going to be, that offensive line.
Yeah,
if it could hold up for him to get the yards and the touchdowns that he's going to need to be that first round running back.
Yeah, and
now he has the potential himself. Well, you got to look at the team and the offensive line, and if Tyron Taylor's struggling, spreading the field out, it's going to be harder for him to run the ball.
Let me ask you this then. If preseason, the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals gets hurt and is out for the year, do you look at David Johnson and say, I don't take him in the top 3 anymore?
Well,
I don't think you can compare David Johnson with Sean.
Well, but you kind of
Numbers-
because look, if you got a quarterback that the defense doesn't have to respect, they're going to load the box, and I think it does change.
So-
It does change. I'm not saying you don't take him early, but I don't think he has the production that he would have had otherwise. I mean, a good quarterback definitely helps. I mean, they
Well,
help
you
each
just
other.
said, though, that last year Tyrod Taylor finished
Yeah, that's surprising.
eighth
Yeah.
or ninth in points. So Taylor is a serviceable game managing quarterback
Yeah, he's a starting
that they
quarterback.
have to respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
don't think they had done really anything to improve their offensive line either, really. So I think
That's just the thing. I mean, you see the 42 sacks. You see he was constantly having to scramble.
Yeah,
now
but
he's a good enough of a quarterback to get
even-
around.
He can
and
scramble.
still score points.
Even if they didn't improve anything, LaShawn McCoy still finished 4th in running backs last year.
You love
PPR
LaShawn
league.
McCoy. We get
I
it.
don't love LaShawn McCoy, but I love numbers and I love
There's a
facts.
bromance going on.
And
Yeah.
facts is simply this: he finished 4th last year of all the running backs with a subpar team, subpar offensive line. Why can't he do it again?
Yeah.
The only
I hope I don't have
negative
to
to
take
him
him.
in that is he's 30 years old.
Yeah. Is there any other running backs y'all are, we talked about the running back by committee teams, and you talk about the teams where they've just got one stud running back, Dallas, Arizona, Pittsburgh. Is Buffalo one of those teams that has one stud running back?
I think if you draft LaShawn McCoy, you absolutely must draft Jonathan Williams.
Y'all expecting some production from Jonathan Williams?
I think Jonathan Williams may be arguably, the best high reward handcuff out there, because as high as I am on LaShawn McCoy, if LaShawn McCoy gets hurt, then Jonathan Williams is absolutely it.
So currently, Jonathan Williams is the 59th running back taken in most drafts. Is he somebody you take a late chance on? I mean, you see him, if you see him in rounds, 14, 15, he's still hanging around. Y'all
If
jump
I have
on him?
LaShawn McCoy, I got to take him in round 10, 11, 12
Really? You
to
take
make
him
sure
that
nobody
high?
else gets him.
You like Buffalo's backfield that much?
No, I'm just saying.
That's what you're saying.
I'm saying if I draft LaShawn McCoy,
Right.
I have no choice but to handcuff him to
That's
Jonathan
enough,
Williams.
That's enough reason right there not to
absolutely
draft
at
LaShawn
rounds
McCoy.
10, 11, 12.
That's good enough reason right there to not draft LaShawn McCoy that
I
high,
think
for me.
if McCoy stays healthy and doesn't go down, then Jonathan Williams, I don't think he's going to be that big of an impact.
I think he'll have some carries. I think he'll have his
He'll have
moments.
some, but he's
I
not
think
going
he'll
to
have
be.
his moments. I don't think he's going to be a fantasy producer that you'll have on your team. But
So do you see him taking points away from McCoy?
I think they'll have him in the goal line sometimes.
I see Jonathan Williams as a 4-touchdown guy this year, unless McCoy gets hurt.
So what about Mike Tolbert and Patrick DeMarco? Are we seeing any production from them? Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we're going to move on from the running backs now. Let's look at the wide receivers. And when you think of Buffalo, I think you think of Sammy Watkins. This is interesting. He finished 89th in wide receivers last year.
He missed 8 games to injury, though.
Yeah, I understand. All right, I'll start with Nick on this one. You have any comments on the wide receivers, Nick?
Sammy Watkins, like we talked in the inaugural episode, he's one of them wide receivers I'm scared of because of injury. He has just never shown the consistency to stay healthy throughout his career. I mean, even going back to Clemson, besides one season, he struggled to stay healthy then. And I have him as my number. I look at my rankings.
2 foot surgeries over the last 2 years.
And especially with a receiver, 2 foot surgeries.
Yeah, that's
is
your
something-
wheels.
And I have him as my 23rd receiver. So I'm not overly high on Sammy Watkins. I'm scared of him. But one guy I do like is Zay Jones.
Absolutely.
I love Zay Jones. I'm willing to take him in the 13th, 14th round. He's a rookie receiver. I think he might pay off at the end of the season. It's going to take, like all rookies, it usually takes a little while for them to get going. But I think the second half of the season, you might see a lot of Zay Jones.
Zay Jones could be this year's Michael Thomas.
He very
Yeah.
well could be.
Yeah.
And especially if Sammy Watkins struggles to stay healthy. I mean, he's the
gonna
guy.
be the man.
He's the
gonna be
man.
Jeremy?
I agree. As shocking
like-
as this is, I agree with Nick.
Oh, my goodness.
Sammy Watkins, huge scare. He could be somebody, though, because everybody's scared of him. He slides, and you could possibly pick him up as a value pick later on because people are scared of injuries. At that point, he may be worth the gamble.
Well, he's currently being picked the 63rd wide receiver
Yeah,
in fantasy drafts right now.
At 63rd, he probably is worth the gamble, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because there could be huge upside. But like we said, Zay Jones, I think, is going to be the real deal. He may be the most impactful. Now, I'm high on two other rookie wide receivers in Juju Smith-Schuster and John Ross, but I think Zay Jones may be one of the most impactful rookie wide receivers that come out of the draft.
If you look at the records that he has at East Carolina, it's impressive.
Oh, it is.
It's very impressive. And,
Think about it. The reason people have Sammy Watkins so high is one thing, it's the contract year. So right now he's shooting for his money. And two, if he can stay healthy, he's a top 10 wide receiver, no doubt.
Talent-wise, absolutely.
Yes, there's no doubt. But the thing that scares everybody is this injury. And if he can stay
And
healthy,
I
he's
think
a
his
good
head.
pick.
I think Sammy Watkins has some mental and some attitude.
We're psychologists.
issues
We're
when
psychologists
it comes
too.
to
Yeah.
that.
Does Andre Holmes kind of open up that field of wide receivers for them? Him coming in?
So we basically have.
I don't have Andre Holmes even on my
So
list.
you telling me they have Sammy
Yeah,
Watkins and
As far as
Zay
drafting,
Jones?
though, but when he comes in, I think that spreads the ball out a little bit more for them.
I think Charles Clay has that more of an impact as
Than-
far as
than
spreading
the
the
third
field
receiver.
than
Yeah.
the third receiver.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Because there's a lot of people they got,
Yeah.
they got Holmes and Jones, battling out for that number 2 spot. I think Jones will have that edge up, but I think Holmes is going to come in and he'll be another option that's going to spread the ball out just a little
It's
bit
like
more.
a Danny Amendola type
a
guy.
little bit more for the Bills than they've had in the past. So.
None of the other receivers are even being drafted in any draft. So, but what we're saying, it sounds like, is Zay Jones, if he's available towards the end of your draft, not necessarily at the end because he'll be taken by
He
then.
might go sooner than that. He might go in the middle.
He's
He might
probably
go
he's
10,
probably
11.
going to be.
Is he in the 13?
Yeah.
Zay Jones is in the
Every
13.
year, there are players that drop and fall based on preseason. And I know it just happens. I mean, last year I seen Ezekiel Elliott. He started out in like the 3rd, 4th round, and as it got closer to the start of the regular season, he kept shooting up the boards. And I think this guy, if your draft is early, grab him late because people ain't going to know about him. But by the time the season starts, if you draft the week before the season starts, or you draft that weekend,
There may be a tendency to overreach there.
I think
Let
they're
me
going
ask
to
you
reach
this.
for him and try to take him early.
Watkins gets hurt, you know,
Oh yeah, like he normally does.
walking from the parking lot into the practice field.
Right.
Does Jones move up in the draft? How far?
I think because he is a rookie, you still have to have some trepidation there.
Right.
There is.
Also,
I think
but he does move up.
rounds 10
But he
through
definitely
12,
moves up, though.
if Sammy Watkins gets hurt, you look at Zay Jones at rounds 8 through 10.
Okay, so he just
A
moves up
round
little
or
bit.
two.
Think about it.
Not significantly.
If Watkins does get hurt, can he handle the duties of that number one go-to guy wide receiver? That's
I don't know that he's ready yet for
I
that.
don't. That's the thing. I don't know if he's ready yet. He needs Sammy Watkins.
So who
to
else do they
be
have?
there at least the
Holmes.
first half of the season.
Yeah, but I don't see Holmes producing.
I think if Sammy Watkins gets hurt,
Holmes
and
has
this
the
will transition
experience,
us to the next position. If Sammy Watkins gets hurt, Charles Clay plays out of his mind and has the best year of his life.
So if Watkins gets hurt, you say the biggest upside then is Clay.
It's
Clay
Charles
Clay
Clay.
moves up.
We're
All
talking
right.
about another 30-plus-year-old too. When you're talking about Clay,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's got the experience, and I know
yeah, but
that
but Charles Clay has not absorbed
He's
the
been
hits.
consistent, yeah.
He has not
he's
absorbed the
very,
hits that
very
everybody else has.
consistent in the past 5 years as far as his averages go.
But you got to look at how Charles Clay closed last year. The last year he finished the first 3 quarters of the year he struggled. The last quarter of the year last year finished 18 catches, 209 yards, 4 TDs. The Buffalo Bills did pick up the coach from Carolina, even though he's a defensive coach from the Panthers, Carolina always has been strong on their tight ends. I think some of that philosophy does transfer to the Bills, and I'm very high on Charles Clay. I think Charles Clay is a late 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 low end tight end 1.
Right now, currently, he's not even being drafted.
One thing
I have-
that scares me about him, though, they've come out as frequent as just a couple weeks ago, the end of May, and the coaches said, we are concerned about his knee. I mean,
Well,
that was a statement that they
I will
made.
tell you what I have written in
And-
my notes right here. I have says Charles Clay. I say this year's Jimmy Graham. Somebody you can get like last year. I got him round 13, and he ended up helping my team immensely throughout the year.
As you can tell, we've slid from the wide receiver to the tight end, so let's continue the tight end talk.
Yeah.
What about Nick O'Leary, the tight end they got from Florida State? He is an excellent tight end at Florida State. Does that translate to cutting into Charles Clay? You don't see it.
Here's what I see. I see a situation where they'll play 2 tight ends at the same time.
Yeah.
And with playing that 2 tight ends, I think because of O'Leary being a reputable tight end for Florida State, it may cause teams to overlook Charles Clay in some, especially early on in the season.
I have Charles Clay as my 25th tight end, so I don't even have him as being drafted.
Right.
Unless somebody goes off and drafts 5 tight ends. But anyway.
Could happen.
Yeah, but anyway, Nick O'Leary, I'm not really buying Nick O'Leary to really factor into the tight end game at all. Unless Charles Clay does get hurt, then you could see him, but I'm not really high on Nick
Even then,
O'Leary
though,
to
if
do
he's
it.
playing, I don't see him being
I think
Yeah, I don't
you steal
see
Charles
Nick
Clay
O'Leary.
late, and I hope he's hot like he was at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm not really buying Charles Clay as much as Jeremy.
Well, based on what we're talking about and what I know about fantasy football, there's really not anybody I want off of Buffalo. LaShawn McCoy, if he's there in the later round, I don't mean late rounds, but I mean, if he's staring at me in the second round, I'm going to begrudgingly draft him, but I don't like LaShawn McCoy. There's something about him I don't want to be forced into that situation where I have to pick him. And I don't really see anybody else on this team that I would really want to pick on my team, other than that maybe wide receiver that you can possibly get late, Zay Jones, to take a chance on. But as far as me, I don't really see anything. We want to talk about the defense real quick, Jeremy. You see anything?
I like they're transitioning this year. They played the 3-4, which has hurt Marcel Darius, Jerry Hughes, some of those Shaq Lawson. It's hurt them this year. They're transitioning back to a 4-3, which puts Marcel Darius back in the middle where he can dominate. Jerry Hughes moves to the end. Shaq Lawson moves to the end. I think they got the linebacker Reggie Ragland coming back off injury. I think their front seven will be really good. Will lead to a lot of sacks.
So you see an improvement this year.
I see a great improvement. I think their secondary is going to be questionable. If you have a good quarterback with wide receivers, I don't know that you're salivating, but I think that you're kind of halfway excited about this. They are going to get sacks, but they're going to give up some big plays. But you're coming down to the end of the draft, your last 2 or 3 picks. Their first game of the year, regular season, is against the Jets. So I would draft the Buffalo Bills to have them week one against the Jets because, let's face it, the Jets this year are going to be pretty bad when it comes to offense.
Yeah, I agree. Nick, got any comments on defense?
I agree 100% with Jeremy. The fact that you'll have Marcel Darius for the whole season, you have Shaq Lawson, Reggie Ragland coming back off injury. I mean, their defense, their front seven is going to improve a lot, but that secondary is still questionable with losing Stephon Gilmore to New England Patriots, which they did draft Tre'Davious White, but you know how rookie corners usually struggle.
What they said. I don't really have much on defense.
They got a defensive-minded coach now this year, and so you expect to see that defense amped up. So.
See a little more emphasis on defense. What about the kicker? Y'all want to talk about that or no? I don't.
Anybody know his name?
I don't know.
Like I said, kickers for me are situational and
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, if you've watched our other shows, we don't. You have to play them because they're on your roster. I mean, you have to fill one out, but we don't really put much emphasis on kickers. And if you watch a show and their main emphasis is kickers, you're watching the wrong show. All right, anybody else got anything on the Buffalo
Overall,
Bills?
I think the Buffalo Bills, fantasy-wise, could surprise some people this year, or they could destroy your team this year if you draft them. I don't think there's going to be much middle ground with the Bills. I think it's either going to be boom or bust. That's the way that's the way these players need to be. Either LaShawn McCoy will be a top 5 running back, or he'll just bury your team and you'll hate yourself for drafting him.
Early.
Sammy Watkins the same way. Charles Clay could be a diamond in the rough this year for you. And their defense you take just because they got week 1.
There you go. All right, we're all done with the Buffalo Bills. Hit us up on Facebook.
At FF Court.
And then we got
Twitter and Instagram.
Send us your questions, comments, or anything else you'd like to say. We'll like to read them and see what you got to say. We hope you're enjoying our show. And with that, court is adjourned.